I am Sanya Najam, SDR Manager here at Verdantis, and I'm going to be your host today. A couple of quick notes before we start. We are recording, so you will get the replay. Drop your questions in the chat at any point, and we will get to as many as we can in the last few minutes. We are keeping this to 30 minutes, so it is going to be very focused. The idea behind today is very simple. Most plants assume that their storeroom is a known quantity. The system says a part exists, so it exists. We're going to challenge that assumption. Joining me today is Dheeraj Kumar, a solutions architect here at Verdantis. Dheeraj spends his days inside the data of asset intensive plants, working out why the inventory record and the operational reality drift apart and how to close that gap. Dheeraj, welcome. Before we get into phantom inventory, tell everyone a bit about what you do day to day.
Thanks, Anya. Good morning, everyone. So, I'm a solution architect at Vedantis, and my work is specifically around MRO 360. And what I do is design how the system actually work under the hood. If I will give you example, so MRO 360 has a module called Parts Intelligence. My job is to architect how that module takes your ERP data, like your material master, your equipment hierarchy, and enrich it. We pull in OEM catalog data, we cross-reference supplier database, we run duplicate detection, we map supersession and interchangeable part. So if I will say it is not a just one time thing, the system continuously monitor if an OEM discontinue the part, we catch it. If a supplier's lead times start drifting, we flag it. If two parts of numbers in your system are actually the same part, we surface that. So the architecture work is basically answering one question: how do we take the messy, even the incomplete plant data, that turn into something the maintenance and reliability team they actually can trust and they can act on.
That is a perfect setup. Let's start with the basics. Now, Dheeraj, when you say the term phantom inventory, what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so imagine you're walking to a storeroom. You look at the shelf, everything looks normal. The system says that all parts are available, they have prices, the location, reorder point, everything looks right. Correct. But a lot of parts that basically did, like the manufacturing stopped making them 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, maybe early as well. We don't know that. And or the machine they were made for, the machines was already scrapped. The part sitting there, it looks alive in the system, but you can never actually use it. That is one kind of phantom. The second, the another one is that, and does is more scarier. Like this is a part you really need. The system says everything is fine, but if your machine broke down tonight and you need it to order that, you can't, right? Because the supplier shut down it, or maybe it will take months to arrive. So it's very difficult to get that part. So quickly, if I will give you an example, like let's say you have a critical sensor one in your main machines, and the system says there are three in stock. Looks safe, right? Because three is already there. But your machine breaks down, and suddenly you need to fourth and urgently, and this supplier is gone. You're stuck. Same system, same green light, completely different reality. So that's phantom inventory. The system says one thing, real life says something else, and nobody told the system.
Interesting. Now, I want to know from you is why
Mhm.
do the traditional ERP and MRO systems struggle to catch this problem?
Right. So an ERP is basically a record keeper. It records what happened. Sometime you issued a part, it's logged, right? And purchase order went out, it's logged. Delivery came in, it's logged. But it does not know what happening out in the real world life. If manufacturers stop making the part, that does not show up in your ERP. Nobody comes and update the record. Nobody type like, hey, this part is dead now, right? So this is no way to know that. The record just stay there and looking perfect normal. I always say one thing, generally, the ERP is not lying to you. It just never got the memo. So if I will give you example, a supplier shuts down their factory and your ERP still shows them as an active vendor, right? Because there no one way to get that details to insert in your ERP. It still shows that part is available, It still shows the price, nothing changes in the system, and it will say that's the way forever unless someone actually goes and checks.
Okay, so in your experience, what do you think is more dangerous? Having excess inventory that will never be used, or discovering that a critical spare can no longer be sourced? And which of these cases make most difficulty?
Well, I will say both are bad, but in different ways. Like the too much stock, that slow pain. Money is just sitting on shelves doing nothing. It hurts your budget. A missing critical part, the sudden pain, right? That is always hits at the worst time. Machine breaks down, maintenance team runs to grab the part, and then they realize either it does not exist or it does not fit, and it will take months to arrive. And now your plant sitting idle.
Well, in supply chain, these disruptions have become much more common in the recent years, right? So, how has that changed the way organizations should think about their spare parts management?
It changes everything, honestly. If I'll say, like, old way of thinking was like, run low, place an order, wait for a few weeks, done. That does not work anymore, right? A part that used to take 6 weeks to arrive might now take 6 months, because somewhere in the supply chain one small supplier had a problem and everything downstream got delayed. So you cannot just react anymore. So you have to know ahead of time which of my supplier are at risk, which part have to backup option, which part are so critical that I cannot afford to just reorder when I run low, right?
This makes me think that there is one concept nowadays that's gaining a lot of attention, and that is parts intelligence, right? Uh, can you explain to the viewers here what part intelligence actually means and why it has become so critical for maintenance and reliability teams?
And so normal master data just tell you that basics, right? Like part number, price, bin location, that's it. You will not get more information from there. Part intelligence is the next level. It answer question like, is the part still being made? Has the newer version is replaced it? Is the machine it belong to even still running? So do you already have something else in our storeroom that does the same job? So our system will identify that things and let you know, and that way you can manage your inventory.
Let's get into the architecture a little bit here. How does Verdantis's MRO 360 actually surface these set phantoms?
So it work in 3 layers, and it's pretty straightforward once you see it. First layer, we pull your ERP data. It can be anything like your SAP, Oracle, whatever your source system we are compatible with, all of everything the system currently believes about your parts, right? The second layer is we check that against the external data. Is the OEM still making this part? Is the supplier still in business? Has the part been replaced by a newer version? That we will check on the second layer. Third layer, we connect each part back to the actual equipment it belongs to. Is that machine is still running? Is that critical to production? That we will check on the third layer. Once you have all 3 layers talking to each other, the mismatches just show up, right? Like if I will give you say like example, a part mark 80, but the manufacturer stopped making it 2 years ago, right? And it's on a machine that is still running every day. That's a real risk, and we flag it. We don't just dump this into a giant spreadsheet. We give you a clean list. Here is the problem. Here is why we have flagged it. What is the reason behind it? What you should do about it. So entire thing you will get there.
One capability that I think that really stands out is the ability to connect ERP data with BOMs, OEM catalogs, supplier intelligence, and substitute part information. Now, we'd like to know, why is that connected view important when you're identifying phantom inventory?
So because one source alone gives you half the picture, right? Never give you a full picture, and half the picture leads you to the wrong decision. Here, what I mean, say you only check the OEM status, you find a part that's been discontinued. You think, right? It's okay. That part you ignore it. But when if that part is also the only spare for your most critical pumps and there no replacement lined up, that's not a something you ignore. Correct, because it's an important one. You can't ignore it. That's actually an emergency you need to fix today. Now flip it. If you only look at usage history, a spare that rarely gets used looks exactly like junk nobody needs, but maybe the rarely gets used because the machines rarely fails. Not because nobody needs it. You only get full picture when you connect all of it: OEM status, equipment criticality, usage history, supplier status together. That's when you can actually make the right call.
And how does the system tell a genuinely obsolete part apart from a slow moving critical spare? Because I'm sure they look very identical in the data.
Yeah, this is a great question. And you're right. Like on the surface, they look identical, right? But both just sitting there, no recent activity. The different is context we ask: is equipment this part is belong to still running? Is it on a critical production line? Is there already a replacement part covering the same job or not? That you can get there. Here is the contracts. A pump seal for your main production line might sit untouched for 2 years. You know? That's because the pumps really fails, but the day it does fail, the seals is exactly what you need. This is a critical part. Now, compare that to a seal for a machine that got scrapped 3 years ago and also sitting there, no activity for that, but nobody needs it, right? Every again. So same silence in the data complexity, a different story, and the equipment data is what tell you which is which.
That makes a lot of sense. And what about the supply side phantom? Let's say a supplier who has quietly gone away. How is that detected before the actual breakdown?
That's a sneaky one, because the ERP has zero idea. The vendor record looks completely normal right up until the moment you try to place an order and nothing happens. So we watch for signals outside the system. Has the supplier's leads time been creeping up slowly? Are there any news report about the company? Has their business registration lapsed or not? And we also ask, how exposed are you? If the supplier disappeared tomorrow, if you have a five other supplier for the part, one SECI supplier is not a big deal, right? But if this is your only source of the critical part, even a small warning sign needs to be acted immediately. Yeah.
Now, for those who are listening today, I'm sure a lot of them suspect that they have this problem. So, where do they start, and how soon do you think they will start seeing something?
Yeah. So, like, we should start small. Seriously, uh, don't try to audit every single part in the warehouse. So on day one, pick the most critical equipment, the machines where if something goes wrong, it really hurts, and start there. So like instead of looking 50K parts all at once, start with 200 parts that are tied to your three most critical production lines. That's manageable, and that's where the real risk anyway, right? In terms of timing, so most clients start seeing real finding within a few weeks. The OEM and supplier check surface obvious problems pretty quickly. The deeper work, like mapping replacement parts, takes a bit longer. But you don't need to finish everything before you start getting them right. So you just need focus on the starting point.
Right. That sounds like a good idea. So, quick one before we wrap this. Why does interchangeability and supersession tracking matter so much over here?
So like because when a machine break down, the part that saves you is usually not the exact part on the work order, right? It is a something equivalent, something you already have in your storeroom under different part number. But if that connection is not mapped, you cannot find it. So you place an urgent expensive order for something you did not need to buy. If I will give you an example, so your work order say part A and part A is discontinued, but part B sitting two shelves away in your own storeroom does that exact same job. If nobody map that connection, nobody find part B, right? And you just panic buy. So mapping these those equivalents, that's what turn hidden stock into stock you can actually use.
Dheeraj, that was really insightful. Thank you. It was a genuinely useful way to think about the storeroom. One line that I'm taking away is that a missing part is not an inventory failure. It is an information failure, and the information to prevent it usually already exists in the system. The job is to make it visible before the next breakdown does it for you. If today resonated and you want to see what phantom inventory looks like in your own data, we would be glad to show you. The link is in the chat. The team can set up a short working session. We can see a couple of questions here, and we will be responding to them personally via email along with relevant resources. I'd like to thank all of you for joining. You will get the recording, and we will see you at the next session.